We are 1 day away from the trade deadline, and on the DNVR Broncos podcast, we are breaking down, should the Broncos make a trade? Should they be buyers, sellers? Where does the team stand after the loss to the Ravens yesterday? And if they make a trade, who could they be eyeing or shipping out? We're breaking it all down starting now. Things can always be worse. And shout out to the New Orleans Saints and the Las Vegas Raiders for showing us that. And we're going to talk about that and the Broncos with the trade deadline approaching here on the DNVR Broncos podcast, where we are live from the Toyota Lounge inside the DNVR Bar, of course, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores. And we're brought to you by Bet365. Use that code DNVR365. Deposit $10, place a $5 bet, and you're going to get $200 in bonus bets, plus Altitude Plus, courtesy of Bet365. And shout out to all of you joining us. We got the 100K balloons here for 100,000 subscribers. We really appreciate everyone starting their week with us, ending their week with us, and joining us on the weekend, regardless of if the Broncos win or lose. And obviously yesterday wasn't the best day, but it's a good day. It's a new day now, and we're got Super Bowl 50 champ Todd Davis, Henry Chisholm, you here behind the camera, and yours truly, Zach Stevens, rocking and rolling with you today. Fellas, how we doing?
Feeling good.
Feeling better?
Coffee. Feeling better?
Yeah.
I felt fine yesterday. No, after watching the film, I think I feel the same. I think it is what it is. It wasn't our best outing, and we're just not there as a team yet. But I think even when you have a bad loss, a 31-point loss, you can always point out some good things that the team did well, and definitely felt like I saw those on film. And I think Bo, for the most part, he looked pretty solid still, even though it wasn't his best game. It wasn't the team's best game.
Yeah, the missed throws kill me. That's the one thing that, like, everything else from Bo you have to like, but it's at some point, especially when you have Lamar on the other side, where it's just every time somebody's open, it's just bang, 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 bang. But other than that, I mean, the process for Bo was all good. I think my official stance on the game is that I'm happy the Broncos didn't try to, like, grind out the clock, like, slow the game down, just try to, like, make it a low scoring, low possession. Like, we know they're better than us, and we're going to see if we can just stay in it till the end. I mean, they went out there, they were throwing the ball around, they were trying to put up points, they were trying to go blow for blow with the Ravens, which is a good test for them. And I think it's fun to see them approach a game against a good team like that. What we learned, though, is that they're quite a ways away from a team like the Ravens.
Okay, so let's get into that conversation, because I think that factors into the trade deadline. But before we do, I want to remind everyone that this is our final day to get in on our Die Hard intro offer. We've had over 1,500 people sign up with us over the past week or so, taking advantage of this intro offer. And of course, you get all access to our website, all access to everything that the Die Hard gets you, including a new shirt. If you believe, you can get that LFB shirt, and it's all just for $4 a month. This is the final day you can get on this deal. So click the link in our description of this show or go to thednvr.com to join. We really appreciate everyone that signed up and everyone that is going to sign up. So wanted to remind you guys of that. And I feel the same as I did yesterday, because kind of the second half of yesterday's game is when I started reflecting. I kind of went through like, okay, this is over. When it was 31-10, right after the Ravens' first drive of the second half, you understood where this game was going to go. You hoped that it didn't get to a 31-point loss, but you knew the Broncos were going to lose.
Yeah.
And then so I kind of just took the view the rest of the game of, okay, how do they look compared to a Super Bowl contending team? And is it way worse than I was expecting? Am I more discouraged? Is it okay? And I kind of came away with maybe not an opposite perspective of Henry, but I came away just being encouraged by Bo. I thought, for the most part, going up against Lamar Jackson on the other side, I was very impressed with Bo. And in that first half, he and Lamar Jackson were really good, I thought. And then the second half, obviously, Derrick Henry goes off, and it's more of just a slog fest from the Ravens, and the Broncos played right into the Ravens' hand. They had to abandon the run. They had to throw the ball. And so I think when the game was competitive, I was really impressed with Bo. But I kind of felt that way, and I said it on the postgame show yesterday, I kind of felt that way after the game yesterday. And the big takeaway is, we kind of found out, at least right now, where the Broncos are. They can beat bad teams. I think they can beat good teams, but they're not one of the big dogs of the NFL yet, and no one expected them to be. They're better than most people expected them to be right now, but we're kind of seeing where they fall in. They can still be a playoff team. In fact, the Broncos right now are the 7th seed in the AFC playoffs, so as much as yesterday's loss stinks, they're still a playoff team right now, and it's something we talked about leading up to this game. This was going to be a testing point for the Broncos to see where they're at, but they afforded themselves, being 5-3, going 5-1 since week 3, they allowed themselves to be able to drop this game, to be able to even drop this Chiefs game and be in a fine position. So Broncos country, if you're feeling down today, it's okay. The Broncos are a playoff team, and I think anyone would have taken that 9 weeks into the season.
For sure. I mean, the Broncos as a whole, they're in a good position. Like 31 points versus like arguably like they're a top 3 team in the NFL. Like that's a big loss, but at the same time, you understand, like you said, we weren't expecting to win the game. We just wanted to be competitive. And in the first half, like you said, Bo had over 150 yards passing. Like he looked really good. It was like kind of lining up to be his first 300-yard game. Didn't work out like that because of the situation we got put in, but I think overall it was good. We found out that he's a receiver as well. We didn't know that.
YR2?
Only player in the NFL with a receiving touchdown, rushing touchdown, and a passing touchdown. So he's one of one in that category. It was good things from yesterday, and I think they'll bounce back. And with the Chiefs, it doesn't really matter how good they are. It's the AFC West division rivalry game, so it's going to be close. We can beat them. I don't care what their record is, even if they're undefeated and they win tonight. It's going to be a good game for the Broncos.
And we'll take a deep dive into this game tomorrow. Todd's going to give us the inside scoop, and then we'll try to see where the Broncos have to improve on from that game if they want to keep it close with the Chiefs, and honestly where the Broncos can capitalize from what they did yesterday against the Chiefs. But I do want to give a shout out to the Las Vegas Raiders and the New Orleans Saints, because I know Broncos country, some people woke up and, man, they're feeling worse about the game today. They look at the 31 points. They thought this team was about to go on a crazy streak into the playoffs, and the Ravens kind of halted that. But we're seeing this is kind of like Black Monday in the middle of the season. Black Monday is typically the day after the season ends when a bunch of coaches are fired. We kind of got that in the past 12 hours here. Last night, the Raiders pretty much canned their entire offensive staff. They got rid of their offensive coordinator. They got rid of Rich Scangarello, former Broncos offensive coordinator, who was their quarterbacks coach. They got rid of their offensive line coach and maybe even one other coach. So they blew up their offensive side. They said this thing's not good enough, and it really seems like they are about to just continue to spiral. And then the Saints this morning fired Dennis Allen, also a former Broncos coach, but moved on from their head coach. And you look at those situations, and those are about as bad as it gets. I mean, the Raiders are 2-7 right now.
The
Saints are 2-7 after losing to the then 1-7 Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
I mean, things could be a lot worse. So just shout out to those guys for making it not seem as bad here in Broncos country.
Totally. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Raiders they had a chance to beat the Chiefs at the end last week. I think they had the ball 20-20 with just a couple minutes left, and Gardner Minshew, I think, threw a pick right away, lost it. So I wonder if that plays in. I mean, I don't know. NFL's a crazy place.
Well, and then also, I mean, you go even further back. At week 2, I think, is when the Raiders beat the Ravens. And it's like, from a Broncos perspective, you're looking around, and Broncos are 0-2, and then you're like, man, wait, are the Raiders good? Does Antonio Pierce have something with this team? And then, of course, Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers, they started off the season pretty hot. We know what the Chiefs do, and it's like, oh, man, this is brutal if the Raiders have figured it out. No, should never got fooled by the Raiders. They're never going to figure it out. And, I mean, this, to me, seems like, what do we talk about? When you fire a coach midseason, especially an assistant head coach, That's kind of like a head coach's last-ditch effort to save his job. So I would not be surprised if Antonio Pierce doesn't make it to next season, and they just seem like an absolute cluster over there in Las Vegas. And the Broncos get to play them in a couple of weeks after this brutal stretch. So at least there's that for the Broncos. It's a really tough stretch. Not only the Ravens, not only the Chiefs, but then you play the Falcons, who beat the Cowboys yesterday. There's a very beatable team.
Yeah.
They're a tier down, in my opinion, from where the Chiefs and the Ravens are. But that's certainly not a gimme. And then you get the gimme with the Raiders in a couple of weeks after that.
We're not in a bad spot, man. I think we have some tough games coming up, but overall, I think we're not in a bad spot as a team and as an organization. We're not firing everybody. Those I haven't been a part of any teams like where the coaches got fired mid-season. All the firings that I was a part of were all after the season. But that's got to be crazy.
Interesting, yeah.
Never had to deal with that.
Do you believe in the interim head coach bump for 1 week?
For sure, without a doubt.
Okay.
It's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you see it every time. I feel like it usually works.
Yep.
Just new energy, new life.
Jeff Saturday won his first game, right?
I think that was the only game he won.
And that's not even like a real coach.
Yeah.
You can just put anybody in there.
It literally wasn't a coach, yeah.
Crazy. But yeah.
Maybe because it puts everyone on notice. Like, oh man, our coach or our defensive coordinator, specifically it's with the head coach, our coach just got fired.
Yeah.
No one's safe right now. I better step my game up. And then you're like, after the first week, you realize, oh yeah, we're still a 3-10 team. We're not going anywhere. It's okay. I'll just go back to planning my vacations after the season.
Get right.
Okay, so let's dive into this trade conversation. We just talked to Sean Payton and got the latest information about how the Broncos are approaching the trade deadline, which is quickly approaching. But first, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Premier Members Credit Union. And of course, most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now. And if you're one of them, you got to check out Premier Members Credit Union. They're a financial institution based right here in Colorado. And with PMCU, you get local branches, friendly tellers, and the tools you need to save smarter, like a reverse tier money market. It's the account you need to get ahead and stay ahead in this economy. This is an organization that serves the community and the Colorado community in particular. Whatever your goals are, they can help. Over at PMCU, it's all about creating a better banking experience for their community. So make sure to check them out and get in on the reverse tier money market. Check them out over at becomepremier.com to learn more and to see what they can do. That's becomepremier.com to learn more, because they're all about the everyday person and helping them achieve their goals. That's why they have so many different things in place. So check them out, becomepremier.com to learn more.
A shout out to our friends over at UC Health and their Ready, Set, Code Challenge. They have brought along Coach Prime, and he wants to help you and other Coloradians be your healthiest selves as the Chief Motivation Officer of UC Health's Ready, Set, Code Challenge. The goal of the challenge is to get Colorado back to its rightful place as the healthiest state. And the number one way to do that is to make sure that you're getting good sleep. 8 hours of sleep is the magic number. You don't want to sleep on sleep. You have to make sure that you're making a good night's sleep a priority. You got to put your phone down. You got to try some guided sleep apps, some meditations, whatever you can to get your body prepped and primed and ready for sleep. You got to try it out, because sleep is so important. When you sleep, you get a lot of neurological benefits and physical well-being added to yourself. So you got to make sure that you're taking your sleep very serious. And if you want to join UC Health's Ready, Set, Code Challenge, you can click the link in the show notes or go to www.uchealth.org/Ready, Set, Co.
And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365. Place a $10 or deposit $10. Place a $5 bet, and you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. All right, fellas. Trade deadline 26 hours and 45 minutes and 29 seconds away right now. Let's start with, should the Broncos be in conversations for trades?
I think that just the basic answer to that is probably no. I think yesterday was a good testament for where we are right now as a team, and I think we just need a couple more pieces before we're going out trading for players and spending more capital. So for right now, I think we should probably hold on to the capital we have, acquire players in the draft, and then when it's prime, like 2030, 2013, 2014, like we did with the Broncos, and acquired all those free agents. I think that's what we need to do and make a push when we're ready, and we know we have the team to really make a push in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Broncos are on schedule. Like, they're where they hope they be. I mean, with Bo Nix and all these young guys, you got this year, next year, where you're still paying off cap-wise the Russell Wilson contract. Like, really, your window starts in like 2026, and for that reason, there's just no reason to be investing in this team when you could just invest in those future teams instead. Again, if they had won yesterday, then it'd be a different conversation because you'd be 6-3 and you would have just taken down the team that has the second best odds to win the Super Bowl. But in a world in which you do what you did yesterday, I think it's pretty obvious where the team is, and that's, again, it's a good spot. Like, last year you were 8-9. You got rid of your highest paid offensive and defensive players. You'd expect to step back. It's looking like you're going to be right around that same range again, and that's a good start. And then you build up from there. So if there's somebody out there who you can bring in and he'll be helpful for the next 3, 4, 5 years, then you could probably consider it if the deal's right. But I certainly wouldn't be out there trying to find a deal that needs to get done. And I don't think there's much reason to get rid of anybody either. So I think, like most teams, they don't do anything.
Man, we agree too much. And because I agree with you guys. Now, I tried to ask the question in a way of, should the Broncos be involved in any deals? And so I do think, yes, the Broncos should be picking up the phone. They should be making some feeler calls if there's a team that's giving away a player. Because they're just in full tank mode. They want to get rid of some salary cap space, and it's a good player that can help this team. Yeah, you want to be in on those deals. And so George Paton should be working the phones, and I expect him to be working the phones a lot. And Sean Payton today told us that's what he'll be doing. Sean's focusing on the football side right now, rebounding from that Baltimore game, how they can play the Chiefs. And he said George is working the phones with his team over the next 24 hours. And if a team is willing to give a player away, or if a team is willing to really, really overpay for a certain player on this team, and we'll break down both sides, just who those players could be on both sides, then yeah, the Broncos should be listening. But right now, I mean, you said it perfectly, Henry. They're on track. And so the Broncos should be probably standing pat right now. If they would have beat the Ravens yesterday, or if they would have lost by a last-second field goal, you could easily look at this team and say, we need to raise our expectations for this season. This is like a potential AFC championship team game. And then it might just be one piece away. And that's when you start looking at, okay, do we trade a day 2 pick for Cooper Kupp, for a difference maker on the offensive side, for a star tight end that's out there? But they didn't. They lost by 31 points. But they're still 5-4. They're the 7th seed in the AFC playoffs. That's why they're also not sellers at all. And the Broncos do not believe they're sellers at all. So you only sell when things are looking bad, not just for this year, but for the future. And forget yesterday. Take a big step back. Look at where this team is at. They're in a great spot. Yeah. They're probably ahead of schedule of where everyone thought they were going to be. So it's the best move is just to stay pat.
Yeah. Stay still. When you look at that Ravens team, that's who you want to be in a couple years as far as the talent they have. They have multiple all-pro players or Pro Bowl players on both sides of the football, and I just think we're not there yet. So we got to start finding ways to acquire those players. We're not spending extra money or capital because although we let 2 of our top guys go, we're still paying one pretty well.
Yeah.
And he's balling up there in Pittsburgh. So we got to find a way to recoup that investment.
Man, talking about just the talent gap that was on display yesterday.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So you know how before every game the home team introduces either their starters on offense or defense? They introduced their offensive starters, and I swear it felt like it was a Pro Bowl game because they were saying, 2-time Pro Bowler, left guard, this guy, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, Mark Andrews, and then they have like 5 or 6 Pro Bowlers or All Pros, and then like 7 All Pro Bowlers on their offense. And when they were doing that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is bad. This is very just eye-opening on where the Broncos are at right now, because you look, how many Pro Bowlers do the Broncos have on the offensive side of the ball?
Cortland.
They have one-time Pro Bowler and one-time All-Pro, and that was Bowles. He was the second-team All-Pro. That's it. That's probably why the Broncos don't introduce guys on their team with saying Pro Bowlers, All-Pros, and why the Ravens do is because it's like, man, more than half the guys you're saying it about, and with the Broncos, you'd only be saying it about 2 guys.
And you just see how. I think there are 2 things I take away, and one is just like that they have the high-end talent, but also just the Broncos' depth. But you look at the talent. So the Broncos start the game. They're just trying to like clog up, take the run away. Don't let Derrick Henry get going. And so what happens? Just drop all these passes in right behind the linebackers. It's like, well, I guess we can't just push everybody up on the line of scrimmage. And so you start trying man, and the man, like the Zay Flowers, is just too fast to be covered in man by just about anybody. Like then you throw in the tight ends, and like they just have so many different places that they can hit you. Yeah. Like you can try to take one thing away or even 2 things away, but if you try to take away Lamar's legs and Derrick Henry's legs, all of a sudden you just throw 16 for 19 at 15 yards per pass attempt, and that was a gap. And again, like the depth too. Like you lose PJ Locke, and Devin Key did not have a great game. He played pretty well the week before, but yesterday, I mean, you could blame him for like 14 points minimum in that game, and all of a sudden, like that's half of the difference. So I think when they're just running wild out there, it's because you just have somebody who doesn't fit in, and they're able to pick on that. So yeah, and the depth thing goes back to why you don't trade away draft picks, because if you draft 7 guys this year and pump up the back of your roster, do it again next year, then all of a sudden, like you start feeling like you can lose a safety or even a receiver. Like you have Cortland Sutton go for 122 yards. No other receiver had 20 receiving yards. Like there are so many spots where you're just not quite there yet. And that's, I think, plays back into why you just need a big draft class and to keep hitting and to grow organically.
Well, I think the depth was huge and very much on display yesterday. The lack of depth, and it was one position on offense, one position on defense specifically that I noticed, and one of them was Devin Key. Now, he's a guy that has barely played much, so maybe he needed more help. And
totally.
He had a really, really bad game. Did you expect much more from him, being a guy that hasn't played much, and you're going up against Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Zay Flowers? Like, it was a really tough matchup, and he got exposed. There was he had blown coverage on the second drive, which led to the touchdown. Then he had a really bad face mask that put the Ravens into the red zone territory. And then he had a missed tackle, which the missed tackle on that 53-yard touchdown also like took out the rest of the defense. I don't think Riley had the best angle either, but like that was just such a dreadful missed tackle. So
also gave up the catch in the first place.
Yeah, so you could be talking about maybe even more than 14, Henry, if you wanted to make that argument.
I really like him. He was awesome in camp, and I think that there's a future, and that's like a tough situation for your second game to be thrown into. But it just makes you think back to last year when, Broncos needed to bring safeties in off the bench because Justin Simmons got hurt. Kareem was kind of in and out. That guy was PJ Locke, and he stepped in, and he was awesome. And PJ totally deserves a starting job, but when you get rid of guys and pump him up to the next level, then all of a sudden you just need to backfill that. And across the roster, you just don't have the depth that you need to compete consistently.
Well, and then on the flip side, on the offensive side, man, little Jordan Humphrey, back-to-back weeks of just disastrous mistakes on the very first drive. In fact, Bo's very first pass, he said after the game, and credit to him, he talked after the game and owned it. He said, I need to get 2 hands on the ball. Yeah, as a receiver when the ball's in the air.
Was it like a super easy ball to catch though? I didn't feel like
it was high. It was high, but it was definitely catchable.
Oh,
and
Cortland would have caught it.
What you can't do is you can't tip it in the air. Like, that is, I mean, it's just like...
If you don't try for it, though, would they just pick it off anyway?
Oh, I mean, you have to try for it.
See, that's the thing.
But you tried with 2 hands, and he admitted he only went up with 1 hand.
I don't think he was catching... I mean, maybe he could have gotten... It
would have been really tough to catch.
Well, then
and regardless,
have
when it's a high ball, it's tipping up regardless.
Wait, so you guys are defending?
I don't think it's at the end of the world. Like... I mean, it sucks, but like, what do you expect from little Jordan Humphrey in that situation? Like I think he brings a lot of things to the offense, but you also should by now expect that he doesn't have perfect hands, and when the ball's way up here and he's on the run, like he's not going to catch it every time.
I mean, he didn't have to jump for it, or he could have jumped for it. It would have made a very... It wasn't like he had to jump for it, and then he was tipping it off the top of his fingers. This was a very catchable pass. A very catchable pass.
We got to go back and watch it.
Yeah, we do.
Because I felt like he was...
I'm stunned.
He was extended with one arm like this, which makes him like twice as long. If
Exactly.
You go with 2 arms,
Exactly.
you shorten the distance. I don't know if he... I don't know. Maybe
So you guys are putting that on Bo, because I haven't heard anyone say that.
No, I just don't think it was like a perfect pass. I think it was like 2 errors in one play. Like they both
Yeah.
had like half responsibility.
In all honesty, though, how many passes are perfect passes in the NFL? Not just from Bo, from anyone.
Payton had
yeah.
no.
And like you watched Lamar yesterday, and like again,
Some
that's
of
an
them.
MVP. But
Okay,
that's
yeah, you guys
just
are
what's
talking
so
about
frustrating.
Peyton Manning and Lamar Jackson, who it was the MVP last year and is playing at a way better level than last year.
No, I'm not saying. I'm
saying in the NFL, how many passes?
From good quarterbacks, I would say 70%.
Are perfect passes?
I
I'd say
mean, perfect
more.
is anywhere like here.
I'd say more.
Wow, I don't think
Yeah.
so.
I
No,
think-
no. Yesterday's pass to Lil Jordan Humphrey was very catchable. And again, I'm comfortable saying this because Lil Jordan Humphrey after the game
I mean, he
took
has to say
responsibility
it.
for it. And
has to say it,
But he
though.
also admitted what he did wrong. He didn't get 2 hands on it. I'm shocked with you guys right now. I haven't heard anyone else say this.
Yeah, can we get a still shot?
I wasn't even trying to be
Yeah.
controversial with this right here. My whole point was, and maybe you guys disagree about with this now, the depth at receiver is like non-existent. The Broncos, Josh Reynolds was supposed to be Lil Jordan Humphrey. The role that
sure.
Lil Jordan Humphrey has been playing this past few weeks, that was supposed to be Josh Reynolds. They lose Josh Reynolds, and now, as Henry said, way too often, it's Courtland Sutton as the Broncos' #1 leading receiver.
Yeah.
Then it's a running back, and then a receiver. Now, against the Saints, Troy Franklin stepped up, led the team in receiving, but it's Courtland Sutton, and then it's a running back. A lot of the games this season, they need wide receiver
Absolutely.
depth.
Yeah.
And one of the ways they can get that is by having Troy Franklin continue to develop. Marvin Mims, this seems like it's a long shot for him to now take that stand right now. But they do need that depth there. So I thought those were 2 huge pieces where depth just was screaming at you yesterday of how much they needed at wide receiver and then at that safety spot as well.
No, I completely agree. They need help at wide receiver. It can't just be Bo and Courtland out there playing catch. And, talking about this play, hopefully you here can find a shot. I think that Lil Jordan Humphrey needs to catch it, but I think Bo could do a better job of placing it too. I'm not saying that either one is 100% wrong for what they did, but I think they could have helped each other out.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a
Definitely.
perfect throw, but this wasn't even like it hit his nail. I mean, it hit his hand, and he batted it in the air.
Yeah.
Like it's just like that's receiver 101. That's what you can't do is hit the ball in the air. That's just like the Hail Mary play that we saw with the Commanders last week. The one thing you can't do as a
hit it
defender is you can't knock the ball in the air. You got to knock it down. So
There's just no way to get on top of it, though. Like it's
you got to
tough.
use both
I think it's
hands.
tough.
exactly like
This
if it's
was
not
a-
caught, it's going in the air.
This was a pretty routine catch.
But even
Routine? Just everybody's making it?
Again, he wasn't.
Courtland,
you think you'd
he
make that?
makes it.
wasn't jumping. I'm not
You
a.
think Henry's making
I'm
it?
not a routine
downside-
receiver.
maybe it's like one of those catches. Like maybe he made the mistake of trying to run. Like maybe it's one of those where you
Look
just
at
sell
this.
out to
No,
catch
look
it.
right here. You hear great job finding
No.
this
Go
play.
to other.
Yeah.
Go to other. You can't see like the.
You can see it right there.
I know,
front.
but you can't
The
see.
ball's right there.
You can't see the proportions correctly because you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a side view. We
His
need a back view.
feet are on the ground. He's not even jumping there.
But
This
that's
is what I'm saying.
I understand that, but you can't see the proportions right. Like we can't even see how close like the defender is to Bo. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You guys can't see this
The
one either.
Can we go
proportions
back
are
to
right.
that?
Thank
Also,
you.
apparently, the Toyota chat is, unsurprisingly, in my opinion, agreeing with me on this one.
I see a routine with a laughing emoji.
Okay, I
yeah.
see Broncos tube. Zach, tell these guys to read the chat. Everyone agrees.
Again,
So-
when it
Yeah,
comes
see
to
if you
Bo's
can find one.
accuracy,
See if you can
like
find one.
the thing is, there's always a handful of these in these games where it's like, oh, if you could make it so much easier. But there are also 3 times yesterday when he had a receiver in the end zone and throw it so high that the receiver didn't even have a chance. And when you just combine all that together, that's what the killer is. And you just hope that in the offseason they can get the footwork cleaned up, because so much of it with Bo really, really, really is good.
Yes.
It's just when it's time to throw the football, he just isn't hitting the receiver often enough to feel great about where he is. Or you could still feel good, but you can't get away with missing all these throws over the course of a 10-year career, you know? Like that just needs to change.
Yeah, you had that picture one more time?
The last
old
thing
one?
I'm concerned about is Bo's accuracy.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem he's had this year.
Look,
Because everything's starting to slow down.
This is why we need the other view, because if you look, your problem with him is that he went up with one hand. If you look at this picture, he has two hands up.
He was the one admitted after the game.
No, I know, but I'm saying that's the problem with this view, is that right here it just looks like he's going up with two hands and misses the ball, when in reality that's not what happened. So we got to see the other view to really see like where the ball was, because
I can see it right here.
But it doesn't look like both his hands are up.
It does. It does. But
what I'm
again,
saying.
I'm not blaming him for the two hands thing. He was the
Yeah.
one that said that after the game. Wow. Shout out to John. Says, Zach is right. He is always right. Oh, thank you. You make my heart warm.
Slow down, John. Slow down.
Yeah. Wow. I did not expect that to be the conversation today. Holy cow. Let's
What?
continue.
That's saying that everybody can be better? I'm not saying anybody
Exactly.
was like, you know what I'm saying, horrible. I'm just saying they both could have been better. on
Like
that
Court
play.
finds a way to catch that one. But
Not finds a way. He just does.
you
Little Jordan Humphries, his feet are on the ground. Like he's not even jumping.
yeah, but it's out
It
in
was
front
that
because,
catchable.
because it was in front of him. You jump when it's above you. When it's
It
out
was-
in front and above
It
you,
was
you don't
not.
get
It
Yeah,
was
yeah, I was
not
gonna
that
find us
far.
another
In front.
picture.
If you hear is able, great.
It was out
Okay,
in front.
okay. So let me give a shout out first to our friends over at Toyota, where this week, so I flew in to DC on Saturday, stay with one of my best friends in DC, and then drove to Baltimore. So I needed a car. I got a Toyota Corolla rental car, and boy, is this thing sweet. I told you guys about it earlier last week. I saw one. I was like, oh my God, that thing is so cool. And man, it rides so amazing. And so if you're in the car game, you need a car. Todd, maybe like your son just turned 17 years old or something, and you're looking for a car.
Yep.
Check out a Front Range Toyota store where you can get any sort of car. If he's like, Dad, I want the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck, you're hooking them up. The Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck. They got it all. SUVs, sedans, anything over at Toyota. So make sure to check out your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. Toyota, AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Group Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West, and Lakewood Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR.
Also, check out our friends at Bet365. I had like a pretty good betting week. Except that I then bet way too much on the Broncos, including
+9.
I mean, that was the start,
Yeah.
money line for the most part, and then you get down to halftime and you're like, well, hey, 17-1 odds.
Oh, no.
Like, we're in this far, why not take those? So now I'm saying they're about neutral, but I will make a lot of money if the Chiefs win tonight, which people usually get mad about that, but it is what it is. They're playing the Bucs without any of their good players.
What's
so
the line?
I
think it's 9, right?
something like that. I just have the money line because it's the end of a parlay.
Oh, fair.
But that's why I feel good. If you guys want to sign up, there's a bunch of cool perks, including if you're in Colorado, since Bet365 is now an official partner of the Denver Nuggets and Colorado Avalanche. When you sign up, you can get 2 months free of Altitude Plus. So they have more than 10,000 boosts a month, a whole bunch of cool perks. And if, again, you sign up, you use the code DNVR365, and you'll be able to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5 and 2 months of Altitude Plus. Must be 21 or over, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you're somebody who has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, shout out to Bet365, our presenting sponsor. Let's see another angle of this. We got it pulled up right here, and here we go, guys. Here's the other angle you wanted to see. That might be slightly too far out ahead of him, but you talk about leading a receiver. That, I don't know. When you're leading a receiver, that's almost what you want to do. Again, maybe it's a little too high, a little too far out, but that is almost exactly what you want to do.
No.
You don't want to hit their body when they're running across the field. That slows them down.
you kinda do.
Want to
I think
lead.
you
No, you
should.
want to lead them.
But I think
that
leading
because
is
their body's
in
going-
front. I think this is out and up. Like Paul's no Diddy. He's fully stretched out. Like he's on his
boy.
tippy toe trying to catch this ball.
And
like,
both of his and where's the ball? It is right on his hand.
No, I know.
It
I'm
is
just saying it's
right
a little high.
on his hand.
And like I said in the beginning, he could have done a little bit better and catch this ball, and Bo could have done a little bit better and got it down just a little bit. I don't think that it was like the worst throw I've ever seen, and I don't think it was the worst not catch I've ever seen. I think that it could have been just a little bit lower for him to get to.
I sent you another
That's
view.
hard.
yeah.
That's hard running full speed, and then you got to stretch all the way out and make that.
Yeah,
play.
but this is the NFL. Like the plays are going to be harder more than they're going to be.
But when you,
I know.
when-
yeah, I know, and I can't believe that.
but also like when you're open,
See, I think that's far.
that is far.
That's far.
when
Like
you're-
he's running, his leg is completely stretched out, and his arm is out trying to catch. That's farther than it needs to be.
Exactly.
and both feet are on the ground there.
okay. Well,
Like,
neither foot's on the ground
he's
in this
running.
frame, but
He's-
in this frame.
yeah, I promise. Here, it's right here.
He's running.
They're
though.
both in the air. You can see the difference in the
No,
shadow.
no, they're not.
Yes, they are. They can see.
The-
But here's the thing: like sometimes things are hard in the NFL. They shouldn't be hard when you're wide open, 10 yards away from the quarterback.
wow, this is. I mean, there is a
We're not
defender
calling
right
it
there.
horrible.
There is a defender right
just
there.
saying it
He
could have
does
been
have
better.
to throw it in
Yeah.
front of him to avoid that defender.
And what we saw him do last week, what he wasn't doing before, is like being able to get the ball around defenders. Mm-hmm. And I think that what I'm saying, he just a little bit of touch there would have helped him. A little bit of touch.
My goodness. Okay, so we're just gonna have to agree to disagree
That's okay.
on that. Shout out to the chat for
blame to go
agreeing
around.
with me. I appreciate you guys. So.
We scooped
We
it up.
certainly did. I'm excited to see the inside scoop tomorrow and see the game broken down even more. But, guys, let's continue this trade conversation. If the Broncos, let's say they are in, they decide to be in the trading game right now,
Mm-hmm.
should they be buyers or sellers?
I don't really know who we have to sell at a high price point right now.
Oh,
So
okay.
Yeah.
everybody talks about Baron Browning.
Yeah.
I think he's our biggest piece, but I don't know what he fares in the open market that would be worth letting him go for. I honestly feel like we should probably be buyers if there is somebody out there who's inexpensive and under 30 and wants to play for a couple more years. Like that's the player we should be buying, specifically tight end, wide receiver, skill positions. I think is what we should be looking for if we're going to buy somebody. But once again, it has to be at the right price. Got to make a deal.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you, Todd. This team is closer to being buyers than sellers. So if they did have to do something, you're probably buying, especially you pointed to it, and you said, I don't know the guys they have that are going to be worth anything out there in terms of a big return. No, there's not. And in fact, nearly everyone on this team is more valuable to this team than they would be in terms of what you would get back in a return. Like the Broncos aren't trading Cortland Sutton at all, but you would get maybe a fifth back for Cortland Sutton.
I think it's better than that.
Well, he's going to want a new contract after this, so you
True.
kind of view it as like.
But you do have the leverage with the 15. Like you got him locked up for a pretty good price next year.
Yeah. But it's too good of a price. It's a price he doesn't like. He made that clear this
definitely,
past offseason. I think a team
But you
trading
do
for
have
him.
the power in the negotiation at least.
Yeah, I just think that would drive his value down a little bit because teams would say he's kind of on an expiring deal, kind of. And then also, you look around, Cortland Sutton, credit to him. First time in his career with back-to-back 100-yard receiving games. So he's playing his best ball, but he's on pace for, I think, like 800 receiving yards now.
Who?
There's Cortland,
It's more than
850, I
that
think.
because he's at 499 now.
Okay, so he's on pace for 900. And how many receivers are on pace for 900 or more? 30, 40 in the NFL. So I just think that
Put
hurts his value as
942.
well. He's on pace for 942. There you go.
And he's hot.
And he's hot. But my point is, I think, okay, you want to say fifth?
I think you can get a fourth.
I don't think so.
Maybe you probably got to send like something back.
I
like
don't
a
think so,
seventh.
but it doesn't really matter. We can say a fourth.
Yeah.
Because
fair.
here's my point. Cortland Sutton's more valuable than a 4th-round pick right now.
Yeah.
He's more valuable to this team than a 4th-round pick would be. You get a 6th-round pick for Baron Browning, a 7th-round pick for Baron Browning. I mean, let's just be honest about what Barron's done this year. He's played in 5 games, started 2. He has 0 sacks, 7 total tackles. I think Baron Browning's more valuable to this team than a 7th-round pick. Look, he's played in more than half of the snaps the past couple of weeks for this defense. To just flip that for a 7th makes no sense to me. So I think that the guys on this team are more valuable than what you would get for them.
Yeah, the bigger thing to me is just that you don't have depth, which I guess kind of goes along those same lines. But like again, if you get rid of Cortland, then you just don't have anybody to sub in. You could get something. I think something pretty good for Garrett Bowles. I mean, Cam Robinson, I believe, was worth a 4th-round pick, and Bowles is a better tackle than he was. I guess they had to send like a 7th back, but I think you could get something good for Garrett. The thing is, like, now you don't have a left tackle.
Now
for
you got to
rookie.
go
So,
get
like,
it first for exactly.
Exactly.
Now we're spending that on the first round.
Like DJ Jones, you could get something good for him on an expiring contract. But again, like there goes the whole strength of your team, which is that you're so overwhelming in the trenches. So I look through and I think there's some good trade candidates that if the Broncos were 3 and whatever and we're trying to tank, then yeah. But just the lack of depth, you just can't afford to make the team any thinner. So I lean toward you need to add if you're doing anything.
Unless, just because you brought up Garrett Bowles, you saw Alex Palchevsky play earlier this year, and he played well this year. If you think that you actually don't have a depth problem at that spot, and the key part here is the team is willing to overpay for a guy.
Yeah.
That's it, at this position of 5 and 4. That's when you listen. Is when a team's willing to overpay. If a team is willing to give up a 2nd-round pick for Garrett Bowles, that's when George walks into Sean's office and's like, "Hey, do we do this? It might make our team worse, but also." We really like Alex Palchevsky. Maybe he can be our tackle of the future, and we're getting a 2nd-round pick back.
The tough part is
I think it's tough because you would say you have depth at right tackle, but I don't know if you have depth at left tackle.
And you'd have to
Exactly.
You
can't just switch.
you
You
have
can't
to
just
do-
switch. I don't think McGlinchey could just move to the left and be nice.
But
That's
that
why
would be the
you-
decision is you have to pick which one of those guys you flip over.
Yeah, and you would have to be comfortable with what you've seen in training camp
For
in the
sure,
offseason
for sure.
to do that. You're 100% right.
yeah.
Because there's a real case to be Mike who goes to the left side. Because Palchevsky was, I think, only right tackle in college. He might not have played any left.
And
if he
left
did,
is hard. You're going up against the best pass rusher like
On an
90%
island.
of the time on an island. Like the line sliding away, and it's you versus TJ Watt. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And if you
Tough.
wind up in a situation like, think about what Joe Burrow is now, where it's like he's just every year. It's like, is he going to play? Is he going to not play? Like, what's going to happen? What happens if you don't make him take that beating early in his career? Would he just have been healthy all the way through? Like same thing, maybe not exact same thing with Tua, but there are just too many examples of quarterbacks who've just gotten beat up early in their career and they just don't quite look the same. It's probably a bad idea to be getting rid of a good left tackle for your rookie quarterback.
Joe Burrow's quietly having an borderline MVP season right now, which is kind of crazy.
What's their record?
Okay.
They are 4-5, just on the tail of the Broncos.
And who are his receivers?
Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. He's got good
Pretty good.
receivers. I'm just saying, he's on pace for well over 4,000 yards, 70% completion, 20 passing touchdowns to 4 interceptions, 108.1 pass rating. That's the only team that scares me in the AFC for taking a Broncos playoff spot. Look, the Colts had an opportunity last night. They blew it. The Bengals, I think that Week 17 game, Broncos-Bengals, is going to be a huge one here. I don't think the Broncos are going to get offered a 2nd-round pick for Garrett Bowles, so I think that's a moot conversation.
Yeah.
But if the Broncos, you mentioned Henry, if they're going to do anything, they should probably be buyers. That's what Todd and I agree
Can we
with
hit
as
on
well.
the others real quick? So if you can get anything for Greg Dulcich, you do it. Like if anybody wants to give you anything for Greg Dulcich,
Come on, guys.
hey, maybe somebody.
I mean, he's inactive right now.
Maybe
so
somebody.
I agree with what you're
Who?
saying,
Maybe
Henry,
somebody.
but I agree with
Who?
what you're saying,
Who?
Todd.
Whoever makes that deal needs to be.
Nathaniel Hackett.
Yes.
Yeah.
He would make it.
With all the power he has with the Jets,
Yeah,
he
which
goes
is
and makes
zero.
Hey, there might be somebody out there.
Yeah, because didn't Nathaniel just lose his play calling ability?
Yes.
No
But
power.
No.
Yes.
Then he goes
No-
and wins
no
everybody
power.
back with a great decision.
Wait, Henry,
Nathaniel, come and get him.
before we move on, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Coors Light, where we always got Coors Light on our set. And it's all about chilling. Whether you're chilling watching a game yesterday, whether you're chilling hanging out with your friends, talking about the Broncos and debating whether little Jordan Humphrey should have made that catch or not, we need to chill after that. We need Coors Light. And if you want to chill, Coors Light is all about chilling. It's brew chilled. Yep. It's bottled chilled. It's served chilled. And even the cans and bottles have the cold blue Rocky Mountains on there. So when your beer is perfectly chilled, the mountains turn blue for you to enjoy and maybe even get some Coors merch. I'm wearing a Coors sweatshirt right now. I get a lot of compliments every time I wear it. So Coors, it's all about Colorado. It's all about chilling. And if you want to get Coors sent directly to you, go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR, where they've hooked up with Instacart to get you Coors Light delivered to you. If you go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
And shout out to us and all the cool parties we throw. Saturday night, there was a Nuggets trip over to Ball Arena to watch the basketball game.
Yep.
A game where the Nuggets just blew out the opponents. I don't even remember who the other team was. Utah, that's who it was, because Cody Williams was playing.
0-6 team.
Yeah. So those are always fun to go to because it's just like, it's like watching the Globetrotters play. It's like alley-oops and AG's just catching, dunking over his head. Joker's three-pointers are just insane. He's like doing the Steph Curry stuff where he runs off of picks and gets to the corner and chucks. Those are fun games. But we've got all sorts of other stuff, including our tailgates. No tailgate this week, of course, because the Broncos are going to be in KC. But the week after will be a massive game and could be kind of like a turning point one way or the other for the season. So make sure you come out to that one and make sure you follow us on social at DNVR_sports or go to thednvr.com/events to check out our calendar.
And shout out to Bet365, our presenting sponsor. Use that code DNVR365 and also become a diehard. And last day to get in on $4 a month for all of our content. Henry and I are putting out written pieces left and right. And if you want to be able to read those, make sure you're a diehard. Also supports us. And you get the cool t-shirts like Jarrell was wearing yesterday. LFB. We appreciate everyone tuning in, huh? You also get access to the Discord. Yes. There's so many perks for being a diehard. So we really appreciate if you do that. Click the link in our description. All right, Henry, let's hit a couple of other Broncos.
Yeah, for example, 5,500 words on the trade deadline with all the different targets, all the guys the Broncos get rid of. So get on the website. But, Damari Mathis. I think he's another one who's kind of top of that chain just because he's the fifth cornerback right now.
He was also inactive yesterday.
Yeah, which is crazy because he made a good play the week before when he was getting in. So it could also be Levi Wallace there just because, you'd imagine Smarty's the fifth. Next year you keep him. He moves up into that fourth spot, and he's a good option as a fourth corner. That would be the last year of his contract. But you never know. Like, there could be interest there. Obviously, the quarterbacks, if you can get something for one of the quarterbacks, you should probably do it. Like, if you can get like a 6th-round pick, why not? But I don't even know who needs a backup / like bad starting quarterback right now.
Wow.
No, I mean, come on, like it is still Zach Wilson. Like, we love the guy, but
what about the Cowboys? Dak Prescott, news is breaking just a couple minutes ago that he's expected to miss multiple weeks now. I don't know if I could actually, maybe Stidham would fit that too.
He loves is it just because he likes the
he loves wearing the Dallas hats with the upside down Dallas. But also Zach Wilson. I mean, Jerry Jones can get sold by flashy players, and Zach Wilson certainly has flashed in his time. So maybe that's a team where a deal gets done with a backup quarterback. And at this point, Henry, I mean, I agree with you. You're comfortable with Jarrett Stidham or Zach Wilson as your backup right now, because you love Bo as your starter and you love the way he's progressing. At least I love the way he's progressing, and I think the Broncos do as well. So you don't need all three. Yeah. If a team wants them, sure. Let's upgrade the 7th we traded for Zach for a 6th, and boom, you just made it worth it. Like
it never even happened, except you paid him his money this year.
And you upgraded a draft pick.
Because what, you traded a 7th for, or no, you traded a 6th for him and a 7th?
Yeah.
So you trade him and a 7th for a 6th, or just for a 6th?
What I mean is you would only trade him to upgrade, because he's going to be a free agent this year.
Fair.
And I'm sure you'd maybe get a better compensatory pick for him just because of the way that is. So that also factors into this. Compensatory draft picks. Do you think that you're going to get a better compensatory draft pick than what someone's willing to trade you for a certain guy? So that plays into it as well. Okay, let's look at the other side. If the Broncos are buyers, who are some names that we should keep our eyes out on?
My guy right now is Travis Etienne. I think for the past week, I've just been kind of daydreaming about it. He's a good running back. The Jaguars just really suck. And I think that for, like, last year he's 5th in the NFL in receiving yards. Like, you imagine a guy like that in a Sean Payton offense, I think you could unlock him and take him to the next level. And also, I mean, the last 2 years he's been a 1,000-yard rusher on top of that. So all of a sudden there's a chance that he just comes in and is your best running back overall, which honestly wouldn't surprise me too much. You have the fact that he's a great weapon in terms of the different ways you can use him. I think they picked up the 5th-year option, which means he's going to cost $6 million next year. But I think that's part of the reason you could probably get him for pretty cheap. That's part of the reason they'd want to move on for him, with the other reason being they've basically given the job to Tank Bigsby. Even though yesterday Travis Etienne had more rushing yards than Bigsby did, despite only carrying the ball 3 times. So,
why did he lose the job?
Injuries are part of it, and also because when you have a rookie who's running really well, you just give him the ball.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Travis Etienne, just like the rest of the Jaguars, have a very, very, very disappointing and underwhelming season.
But I don't think he's just fallen off a cliff. Like, just last year, he's a 1,000-yard rusher, 5th in the NFL in receiving yards. Like, they picked up the 5th-year option for a reason. Like, I think that's an explosive running back.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it with running backs, though, even way before they hit 30. Phillip Lindsay, here, was a 2,000-yard rusher, and then
2,000.
2 times, just like Etienne.
Yeah, exactly. But just like Etienne, that's
the
what I'm
thing
saying.
is, he catches the ball, so I think you could use him a little bit differently.
Yeah, and I'm not
aging.
pushing back on that. I think that would be a fine move, but I think Sean Payton told us today what's going to happen. Audric Estime is going to get a bigger role for the Broncos moving forward. So I think that's the move they're making at running back. Isn't bringing someone in, it's changing the depth chart. Sean was asked, because he was talking about how the keys in the second half of the season are going to be running the ball more efficiently and effectively and consistently, stopping the run, and then winning the turnover margin more, because the Broncos are -1 on the season right now. Sean said if that's the case come the end of the season, we're going to be in trouble. We need to get that better. So 3 things, 2 of them involve the running game, 1 on offense, 1 on defense. And then so he was asked, okay, well, even with Audric Estime's fumbling problems, can we expect to see him more? And he said, yep, I think we can. So I think that's the move they're going to make. I would be fine if they traded for ETN, but I just don't think that that's going to be what happens.
Oh, yeah. I mean, most likely nothing happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think last year there were 15 in-season trades, and I think 6 of them came on deadline day. I think this year there have been 9 trades so far. So again, you're kind of looking at like just about that same number. So most teams won't make a deal, but I think that'd be a fun one. I also look at the Panthers, because they've got Jonathan Brooks coming off the torn ACL. He was the Texas running back, first running back taken last year, despite having a torn ACL. That's how much better he was than the rest of the class. But he has returned to practice, will be back at the field soon. They also have Chuba Hubbard, who's been awesome, who they'll probably hold on to because he's been so good, and Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, another just good, fast running back who I think could really break things open. I don't know that he's worth massive trades, but especially if for some reason they were willing to trade Hubbard, that would be incredible.
So let me ask you guys, if the Broncos do bring in another running back, who's getting cut? Because they also have Blake Watson.
Lavelle Bailey. He's practice squad now.
Oh, you don't think? No. I mean in the running back room. Yeah,
I think you can carry 4.
I don't think they would. I think if they're bringing someone in, it's because... 4. Really, I think if they bring someone in, it's because the room's clearly not good enough, and they're okay moving on from someone.
No, I disagree. I mean, I think
you have
that
so
you just
many though.
4.
If you were bringing somebody else in, you would have to get rid of one.
But you also have like other guys.
But if you want Estime to get more carries, and then you bring in a top tier running back, or at least somebody that's going to be important to this offense, then you have Javonte and Jaleel. That's too many backs.
Yeah.
Somebody has to go.
I agree.
But I think at this point in the season, you can hold on. Like, you probably don't bring Javonte back next year. I think things are probably trending that way anyway. Like, it means you're not seeing, like, the increased workload for Jaleel. It means you're not seeing the increased workload for Estime. But, you know, with the fumbles, I don't know that's the end of the world. I think there will be enough touches to go around. Like,
you're not enough touches now.
You don't think so?
With 3. No.
I disagree.
Sean says every single week that it's hard to get 3 running backs the ball. So that's why it's more of a 2 running back system in his mind. So You think he'd say, "Oh, but it's easy to get 4 running backs." No, it's the opposite. So I'm with Todd there. I think they'd make a move at the running back position.
I just think you could. I just don't think those guys are commanding touches. Like if you took half of Javante's touches away, I'd be fine with it.
Okay, then why keep him?
I mean, you could just cut him, but I just think he's more valuable to keep than again. There's just guys on the back of the roster who could more easily get that roster spot. And if there winds up being an injury, you still have him. You know,
man, crazy enough,
or trade him.
I think if they make a semi-big move like trading for ETN, I think it's probably Javonte they're going to move on from, because Jaleel and Audric are more of a chance to be the future guys as well and be part of this team. So that's what's crazy. If they were to make a running back move, it would probably be at the expense of Javonte, in my opinion.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I would hate to see him go, but if you think about getting Audric more touches, you know, they're more similar backs. I think he would be the one that had to go if they made a move there.
Yep. Okay.
I just think when you look through and it's like your number 1's at 3.8 yards per carry, your number 2's at 3.9, your number 3 has fumbling options. You can't rule out going and getting a running back.
That's fair. That's very fair. Yesterday, Javonte ran for 3.5 yards per carry.
Yep.
Jaleel for 2 yards per carry. Estime, now it was in garbage time, ran for 7 yards per carry. Just expect to see more Estime, even with his fumbling
he's
issues.
At like 6.8 for the season.
Sean told us today, so expect that. Okay, I want to make sure we hit this super chat before we get out of here, and it's coming in from our friend E. Lozano, who says, "Congrats on the 100K. Thank you so much, E. Lozano, and everyone for making it happen. We really appreciate everyone, especially those that have joined recently, and actually, especially those that have been rolling with us for a very long time. We appreciate everyone, the new and the old tier. So we have a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? We talked about what should happen. What do you think will happen in 26 hours, 3 minutes, and 20 seconds?
Crickets.
Me too.
Absolutely nothing. We'll be sitting here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to go get like a Garrett Wilson or T. Higgins, or like they do something stupid and say like we're trading Jamar Chase instead. But yeah, the safe bet is on nothing.
Yeah, and a couple of people have also thrown out the name Kyle Pitts, because I think he was thrown out a couple of months ago.
For no reason.
You also threw out a couple of other names: T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson. None of those teams are selling. In order to buy, the team has to be willing to sell. You're not just going to be able to take them from them. The Falcons are a playoff team right now. They believe in what they've got going on offense right now, especially after beating the Cowboys yesterday, even though the Cowboys are trash. Then you have the Bengals. I mean, they're believing now. They started slow. Now they're 4-5. They're only 1 game out of the Broncos for that final wild card spot. They're not going to be selling, especially one of their big pieces. And then, as delusional as it is, the Jets are 3-6. They're all in on this season, even though they're 3-6. They're not going to be selling. So there's going to be no. I think we've already seen the big trades that have been done. And what's crazy is typically trades happen in these final 24 hours. Not this year. This year they've happened 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, last week. I think it's probably going to be a relatively quiet trade deadline for the entire NFL, just because we've already seen so many.
I'd throw Hunter Henry out there too. That's a good tight end, and my favorite part is that he's just well-rounded. And so like Evan Ingram, David Njoku, like sexier names, better, more explosive players. Hunter Henry, you just plug him in, let him do tight end things, and you don't have to like change the system to focus on getting him the ball. It'd just be such an easy upgrade at the position and maybe not all that expensive. Those other guys would be a lot of fun, though.
You went up against Hunter Henry, right?
Yeah. I feel like he was nice when we played him.
Yeah.
He's
Still only 29.
He's falling off, though. But like those first couple of years with the Chargers, he was nice.
He was really
he was.
nice.
And now he's not the same player.
And
I
then
mean,
he
he's still an upgrade for, a lot of the Broncos tight ends, but.
Right, exactly. And then he went to the post-Tom Brady Patriots.
Yep.
And I think they've lost a lot of people in there when you go to the post-Tom Brady Patriots. Kind of fizzle out.
But still better numbers than anything the Broncos have gotten.
Again, that's why I didn't want to get the false positive after last week. And you guys were all like, no, the tight ends are fine.
I don't think anybody said that.
Whoa.
Wait, what?
You guys were definitely saying the tight ends were fine last week.
No, we said that they needed more targets. I felt like I couldn't call them trash without them receiving more targets. I didn't say they were like fine. They needed more targets though. Even this game, one target for 4 yards. Like
There's a reason.
Who's going to do anything with that? Who's going to do anything?
All right, let's hit one more super chat coming in from Chris, who says, "Thanks for switching into by the table at the bar yesterday, Todd."
Swinging by the table, I believe.
Swinging
that's not
by.
what he wrote, but
Yeah. You're right.
Yes. Yeah, no problem, man. Of course.
We love it
I was
when you
trying to
guys
decipher what that was, but appreciate you coming
swinging.
through, man.
We really appreciate you guys rocking and rolling with us, especially coming down to the bar on game days. Got another big one, 11 a.m. game this coming week where the Broncos go into Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Hit us with a thumbs up on the way out. Tomorrow we'll be breaking down yesterday's game and seeing what the Broncos can learn to beat the Chiefs from their tape yesterday. Todd's taking us in my favorite segment, the Inside Scoop, and we'll do it all starting at 10 a.m. Have a terrific Monday. Go Bucks. Beat the Chiefs.
Let's Bo.
We all silly like the mayor.